Hey there, welcome back. So this is episode 2 of reading Stephen King books in publication order. Today's book was Salem's Lot, and let's just start by saying that this is a very Stephen King book. If you are a fan of Stephen King, then chances are you're going to like this book. It has all his classic tropes. It has his author as a main character. It has the small town vibes. It has his writing style and diving deep into character backgrounds. While I like many of Stephen King's books, Carrie is probably my favorite book of his so far. Misery, Pet Cemetery. I still need to reread it to determine if it's a favorite book of all time or if the cons outweigh the pros. But Derry as a whole, that town, I would read a textbook on it. I love Derry so much. Those are some of his most wonderful books I've ever read in general, and just so happen to be by Stephen King. Stephen King has also written some books that I have had to slog through, painfully so. And this is one of them. I did not like Salem's Lot at all. I'm sorry. I know it's one of his classics, but I'm just going to give my honest opinion on it. My main issue was with the characters, and I think this is going to be a bias on my part, which we'll get into later, but I felt all the characters were interchangeable. No one had a unique voice, even when you did get deep background and explanations on them. It just made me hate them more. I disliked every single character in this book. I disliked all the relationships. I felt nothing for every one of these characters. I was rooting for the vampires to win. So what I think this book is majority just being shock horror. What I mean by that is you have like a lot of mundane stuff and then something extreme happens. I'm not going to consider anything of what I'm just going to state happens in this book as spoilers. I don't think it really is, but think of it more as trigger warnings that are a little bit more specific and might edge on spoilery. You have like a new mother punching her baby in the face repeatedly, giving them a black eye. You have death of children. You have vague pedophilia vibes. It happens. It's in the book. It's just not explained in detail. You have domestic abuse. You have assaults. You have fake rape accusations followed by actual rape, followed by so many other things that just come very abrupt in the story. And if I cared about any of these characters, it would have been tragic. It would have been horrifying. Instead, it was just, oh, we're doing this now. Yeah, whatever. It's like, oh, we're just having a chill conversation. Hey, you know what I would like to do? I would like to gut all the dogs in the world. Okay, cool. That's a great thing to just say to somebody during routine conversation. And then, of course, the homophobic slurs everywhere, because you can't write a small town in like the 70s without throwing that in every other sentence. It just was jarring and abrupt, and that kind of just threw me out. I wasn't a big fan. I'll acknowledge some of the positives that I can see how this book, its focus on the town and the atmosphere and the characters, its focus was in the right place. I just did not care about anything that this was focusing on. Like Salem/Jerusalem's Lot does not hold a candle to Derry, which comes years and years after it. The characters in this are nothing compared to other characters Stephen King has written, in my very biased opinion. And here comes my bias. I was set up not to like these characters because from the beginning, we have the most unhealthy, dynamic writing thing, and just, I'm going to jump right in and say it's going to be the treatment of the female characters. So you have your main author who's in his 30s. He's like 33 or something. And his love interest in town is, I believe I worked her out to be 27. Let me get that right. No, I'm sorry. I gave him too much credit. 24. So the age difference isn't that extreme, except how she's written. Because he, on multiple instances, is being described as in his 30s or having like this full life. He was married, had a career in the past, traveled. Like, he has a full background life behind him. her description consists of, in the book, being, well, she's such and such's daughter. She's over 18. She's such and such's girl. And then when she tells him her birthday, he's like, oh, you're older than I thought, or that makes you like 7 years older than I thought you were. Because, yeah, I had the same opinion. I also thought she was an 18-year-old girl having a relationship with this 30-year-old man throughout the majority of this book. The only real description of her age is, I was born the year of the fire, and then you find out the year of the fire was 24 years ago. So I don't like how she was written and portrayed. Like, she still lives at home with her parents. Like, it set me up for an uncomfortable dynamic. And you might just say that, well, Jessica, that's you misinterpreting the characters. There isn't as big of age difference as you initially thought. Again, it's how she was written. I did not like it. My cat wants to play right now. I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to refilm this. Then you have just more female characters. If this was just the only instances, I can't say incidents. I can't say it. That's fine. But then you have another character. What's her name? Ruthie Crockett? I got it written down. Yeah, Ruthie Crockett. Her only description throughout the entire book, she's a nothing character, but it's felt the need to bring it up multiple times of just how big of a slut she is. Multiple times. Multiple characters describe her in that way. Such and such from the convenience store gotta say that, well, this character is definitely better than Ruthie and her friends. At least she doesn't wear shirt showing off her noticeable bust and pants so tight that you can see the lining of her panties, assuming she's wearing any. And one of the main characters is stating, like he asked in Ruthie Crockett's sexy little girl lisp voice, Ruthie Crockett is a teenager. She is a child in high school. The one making fun of how she talks or describing her as a sexy little girl lisp voice is her teacher and one of the main characters. Like, this is how she's described. Then you got another character, the one who regularly beats her infant child. That's a great depiction of female characters right there, just being overwhelmed. It could have been done very well, which we'll talk about later, but just the overwhelmed of being a new mother with no support and physically abusing her child. Again, great depiction of a female character. Who else is there? There's one who's having a affair with a TV repairman, and then as soon as she gets caught in bed with him by the husband, she cries rape, putting like a fake rape accusation, which is just great. And then you have this weird revenge thing that happens where the husband threatens to shoot the person she's having an affair with, and after the TV repairman guy soils himself and wets his pants, the husband, like, I don't want to go into spoilers, but like that, he gets thrown out, and then he goes and assaults his wife. Like, there are no real good examples of female characters in this. There's a couple who nothing bad happens to, but they're not fleshed out characters. Tiny little cut in. I don't care if an author wants to write unlikable female characters. I don't even care if some female characters are done badly. It's when all of them, in my very subjective opinion, are done badly. Every single one. And there's no good writing of female characters. And I know Stephen King can write female characters. He has written fantastic ones in the past. Carrie was his first one, and I praised and raved and loved the female characters there so much. I don't even care if a female character is selfish, manipulative, only looking out for themselves, and just a horrible, horrible, horrible person. Honestly, that's probably one of my favorite types and dynamics to explore and explore well. I didn't like any of the female characters in this book, and it put a bad taste in my mouth for the other characters. Then you have characters like, what's his name? Give me a second. Mark. Mark's a great character. He's a 12-year-old kid. He's chilling, living his life, gets wrapped up in all this vampire stuff coming to town. He teams up at one point with Susan, the 24-year-old love interest of the main character. And at one point, she's like, she's asking him for his advice on what to do next. And it literally says, let me get the exact words for you. So they're talking about how to kill the vampire. She says, how are we going to do it? She asks automatically, giving over the leadership of the venture to him. Ma'am, you are 24. He is 12. You are talking about going to hunt a vampire. Granted, I don't know if she 100% believes he's a vampire at the time, but you're still talking about murdering someone. You do believe in that. Send him home. Why are you getting him involved in this? You are the adult. He is a child. He should not be taking the leadership role. Then, when they're discussing about actually staking him, her response is pretty much, well, you can handle that part. Like, she's too delicate. She can't be the one to kill the vampire. She is the adult. He is a child. Then you have Mark, again, the child, teaming up with Ben, our author, main character guy. And granted, Ben here has become quite traumatized, but his response is, hey, 12-year-old, you go check out this abandoned car that might have a dead body in it. I'm too upset right now. I can't be the one to do it. I get you're upset. Validly so. How about neither of you check the car? How about you walk away from it? Calm down. Don't send the child into the dangerous situation. Also, he multiple times brings that child into dangerous situations instead of just being like, get out of town. It's lost. Go. So the teacher, back to the teacher who was sexualizing his student casually, like, he's the main character. I don't like him because he done this. I'm set up from my viewpoint of just how people interact with the female characters not to like them, and then I'm set up to not like them how they're just like, yeah, 12-year-old, come help us out. I don't like it. I did not like it. I was rooting for the vampires to win, but that being said, if we spent actual time with the vampires, I probably wouldn't have liked them either. Some good aspects of the book was, again, the atmosphere, the Marsden house. That was very creepy, cool backstory. I liked how it loomed over the town. However, it also had its drawbacks, because while the author's like looking around and he catches glimpses of the house, no idea what the cat just got into. It's very atmospheric, it's very threatening. It is like this looming presence, this dark shadow over the town. Like, you're like, oh, what's in there? What's to come? Except that every single time he's looking for it, a character has to bring up, oh, you're looking for the Marsden house? I notice you're looking around. You can't see the Marsden house from here. I know that's what you're looking for. They have to just bring it to your attention instead of just letting it be. And I hated that so much. Okay, what about the story itself? This is the main character, author, coming back to his hometown, looking to write a book, falls in love with the local girl, and the ragtag team has to go take on the vampire threat. My God, this book is slow. Multiple point of views, which I normally love, except I hated all these characters. And it takes till the halfway point of this nearly 500-page book for anything relevant concerning the actual plot to really happen. I get the point. We're setting up the atmosphere. We're setting up the characters in their background who will be impacted by the conflict to come. I didn't like the setup. So then the conflict happens, and it's supposed to be over like 2 days, 2 nights. Somehow that was even slow. Like, it really feels like it was supposed to be fast paced, but the amount of times we're talking about, are these vampires? What do we do about it? Are we crazy? Just get the plot moving. We have slogged through 250 odd pages. Don't make us slog through the ending as well. And we really did, in my very, very subjective opinion. I know people love this book. I did not. The worst part is seeing the potential. Like, what if I did like these characters? One of the vampires who was killed, one of the characters who's killed and turned into a vampire early on is, what's his name? Danny, I think. Like, he's just a little kid, and it should be terrifying that this kid was turned at such a young age, and the lead up to him being taken, and his brother, and in the woods. That was a very, very well-written scene. I greatly enjoyed it. But like, what if it was Merc? What if it had been this new kid that we had been introduced to, who stood up to the school bully and has a well thought out personality, like a love of horror movies? You feel invested for this character. What if he had been the one who'd been taken, killed, and we're watching him get sick and fed upon? And until the awful happens and we're at his funeral and the grieving process as we've been introduced to his family. Like, it's almost like introducing the characters and building them up and making them memorable and likable, then killing them off would be more impactful compared to the shock value horror that I felt like I got. Going back to the mother who was beating her child, can you imagine if we explored that theme further? The idea that what if this baby had been out of wedlock? I don't think it actually was. I know she was married in the book. So what if it hadn't been? What if that had been out of wedlock? And she had been from a very loving, supporting community, and especially with the church aspect, like very supportive there. But when she broke the rules and the vows and the values of the community, she had been cast out and is on her own. And without that support system, became violent and overwhelmed. And she was still reaching out for support but couldn't get it. That would have been a great aspect to explore, in addition to the vampire side of things. So one is murked kind of thing. And when he goes to the church, it burns him and he's cast out. He's no longer welcome there. He's unclean. Talking about how like the church can cast out members of its community who break their vows instead of helping those who are in desperate need of help and probably doing more harm than good. That would have just been an interesting plot to explore. Instead, we just got like very vague themes of a little bit of faith and addiction and, I don't know, good, bad, evil, free will. I don't know. The very vague themes were discussed. I just felt we could have went a lot deeper with this concept and these characters. If we wanted to focus more on like the town aspects, like the small town community, and we weren't ready to do like a full-on like Derry, how amazing, well written this town is, what if instead of focusing on Salem, Jerusalem's Lot, we focused on all the different small towns that the vampires went through, and the vampires weren't able to understand what make them a community. Maybe like the vampire was young at the time when we start seeing things through his point of view, and just selectively targeting like the outcasts of the community and still seeing the ramifications of how one death in a community affects the entire community, and they don't really understand it as they slowly lose their humanity, seeing the loss of humanity. Maybe they first realize, oh God, I hurt this one person in town, but I hurt all of these people. I hurt the entire town. And then later on, it's like, well, I'm just going to kill these people, and these people grieve. They mean nothing to me. So again, showing that loss of humanity. And then throw in a God complex to the point of why they think they can now take over an entire town. That just seems like a more interesting idea than what we got. The vampires themselves, like I appreciate how far this story went. Like any book that I can describe to the like lyrics of "Let the bodies hit the floor," like it's just a bloodbath, I'm gonna have to give it an additional star to. So we're getting at least a 2-star here. But I just could see potential of me personally loving this book so much more if it just went in an ever so slightly different direction. Overall, this book was not for me. Another positive element that I just thought of, I did like the fact that the sheriff of the town wasn't an idiot. I realize I'm reaching for straws here for positive aspects. Yeah, just not for me. I think The Shining is the next book on the publication thing, so expect another little bit of a rant review if my opinion stays the same, because I did not like that one when I read it in high school, but high school Jessica was also an idiot and didn't appreciate reading basically at all. So I might have a different opinion this time. I am going in with an open mind. I'm going to throw on my Stephen King bingo sheet because I stamped a lot of boxes in this. Don't turn it into a Stephen King drinking game. You will not fare well if you use this book. But I think that's all I have to say concerning this book at the moment. So I'll see you later. Bye.